Oh look, we've got a little kitty visitor today. I saw him sitting in my carrots yesterday too. Draco doesn't seem to mind. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the garden. If you guys haven't been here before, my name is Rachel and I do this garden tour of my little garden every single week. And I go over everything. The good, the bad, my thoughts on how I'm handling stuff, and as someone who's been gardening for a few years now, I hope that me leading you through my thought process and kind of showing you around can help, especially you new gardeners, kind of figure out much faster than I did some of the best practices. Not that everything I do is necessarily the best thing to do, but it is a way to do it, and we can all learn from how it turns out. Alright, so let's start with this lemongrass plant here. It is coming about time for me to kind of pull some of it and make sure that I am rerooting the cuttings so that I can have a whole new plant next year. This section back here is still very much basil and marigold. This marigold seems to be willing to expand into the available space. It was much more crunched up, and now that this space is empty, it's been expanding out into it and making all of these lovely flowers. Like, once this plant started flowering, it really did not stop. We also have all of these beans that I'm letting dry here. Definitely still making new ones, but most of them now are mature pods that are starting to dry out. This broccoli right here is one of many I've put in kind of along here, and it's looking kind of tall to me. I think it might be a little leggy, but I'm not sure because I've never actually grown broccoli to maturity before, so could be just fine. Hard to say. Down here closer to the end, we've got a couple more broccolis, of course some more basils. This one broccoli that got fully eaten up by something is onto its second and third new leaves. So it's trying really hard to come back. It'll be behind, but maybe it'll still make me something. Back here there's also a line of fava beans. There's some more near the front of this row, but the rest of this area is just kind of too crowded. But I've been kind of plugging them in spaces where there is room. These are all aqua dolce from seeds that I harvested this spring. So hopefully we will have some more fava beans coming into the winter. Here we are at the start of this second row here, and right away this is that other section of fava beans that I had started. They sprouted pretty quickly, and because it's still mostly warm during the day, they're gonna grow pretty quickly as well. But they will be able to tolerate these temperatures that are cooling down. Next to me I also have this entire rutabaga patch. We have a few that I started and got leggy, and then I plugged them in anyways, and you know, they're not really dying, but they're not exactly thriving. We've also got some that I direct seeded, and honestly, the way these are already starting to make their first true leaves, I have a bet that any of these that survive will probably grow faster than these, but we'll have to see. There's a few more back here, despite the fact that the cats like to lay there. I've still got this whole eggplant and pepper patch, and if everything had been on time this year, I might be thinking about taking these out right now. But because especially a lot of the peppers are just putting on their first big flush of peppers, I'm waiting a little longer just to see if I can actually get a good harvest off of these. But also in here I have started plugging stuff in. I've got, these are spinach starts coming up right here. They don't look the best, do they? We've got a little lettuce that I put in. That's another spinach sprout right there. And then on the other side over here, I planted peas, but I haven't seen those come up yet. They are a dwarf variety, so they should kind of sit at like 1 foot tall, maybe like 2 at the max. They won't need a trellis, and they will be nice little things to kind of squish in between other things, because I'm trying to have less bare soil this winter. And there goes Kata sitting right on top of that spinach sprout that I just showed you. No wonder they are struggling. But if we look past her to these zinnias, I think these zinnias are actually getting powdery mildew, which I've never seen on zinnias before. But I could probably yank all of these out at any time. They're still making such beautiful flowers though. That's one of the things I love about zinnias, is that they just keep blooming until they die. Well, I just noticed these 2 plants in my path that we can check up on. This one is dill, and I've actually already cut some of the leaves off of it. I could probably cut like another big branch off of it to dry. This weather seems to be really good for it, so I'll have to keep that in mind, and maybe use this time of year to stock up on my dill for pickles. Now this one, I'm becoming more and more sure that it's a rutabaga, just because of the size. It is going to be squished in between these 2 little paving stones, so I don't know how big it's going to be able to get, but I can rest assured that I have at least 1 healthy rutabaga in my garden. Alright, I'm gonna go down the 3rd row now. I have to step over all of this to get in there, but this one nasturtium, this variegated one, has been doing so well. I've been trying to use some of the leaves and flowers, they're edibles, and once I start seeing it making a lot of seeds, I'm going to try out making capers from them. So that'll be really fulfilling. It'll feel like I'm using all the different parts of the plant. Plus it's gorgeous. I can't wait to grow more like that next year. Here's the other side of that row with the rutabagas. All of these eggplants they're still trying. There's still some fruits coming on, but definitely not the harvest that I had expected this year. There's another little baby. Next year I will be trying some different varieties, and hopefully they will be better suited to my climate. But if we look past that, past the powdery mildewed zinnias, then we have the popcorn, which you can see is starting to brown on the leaves. And this is all good. This is a good sign. All of this has to kind of dry out before I can take it in. And before I go any farther, I'm going to remember that my spider friend is here. You can see actually it molted recently, so there's its old skin, and that's the live spider. We go around the spider, we find Mr. Draco trying to take a nap, and then we have this Brassica patch. This is mostly Brussels sprouts with some potatoes that are here that I forgot about when I was planting the rutabaga. Sorry, what are these? Brussels sprouts. These look like they're doing really well. I'm pretty happy with the size. We've still got almost a full month before our estimated frost date, although it is cooling off. And the potatoes seem to be pretty happy as well overall. I don't know exactly how they're gonna do as the frost comes, if we'll get very big potatoes off of these, but maybe we will get something. And you'll notice also now that it's cooling down, these onions are starting to sprout on their own. And I think that's a really good indication of when things need to start going in the ground. I have been trying to start my own onions from seed this year. I am still struggling with it for some reason, and I can't really figure out why. I get them to like this big and then they start wanting to wilt, and I lose about like 2/3 of the seedlings in that stage. So I'm probably still going to be buying starts for my onions this year, but hopefully I'll have at least a few that I sprouted from seed that I saved from this garden, and we can kind of start building a gene pool that does well here. Alright, now we are on to the trellis row. The noodle beans look cooler than ever just because I'm letting them actually get big and make me seeds, similar to those other beans. and the vines are still very much growing out. I can still come through here and pick fresh beans that are the right tender size for eating, even though I'm letting a lot of them go to seed. So that's really nice kind of dual harvest for this plant at the moment. And if I look down, we see my holy basil here absolutely taking over the space that is available to it. And then onto this next trellis here, we have my blue butterfly peas, which have absolutely taken off and are just flowering incessantly. I've gotten so many flowers off of this trellis for lovely blue teas. I never feel like the camera really does it justice with the lighting and everything, just how much the blue pops as you're coming towards it. It is just absolutely gorgeous. On the other side of the trellis, I do still have this cucumber plant. It is about to die. You can see all these fruits that it had set are not going to keep growing. You see that yellowing at the top. This plant is dying. You can see it's got some powdery mildew. It's also just a little chilly at night for cucumbers. So at this point, as soon as this one is done, I think this vine is going to come out, and I'm going to figure out what else I'm going to be putting along the edges here. Past the trellises is the hot pepper patch. I've started pulling hot peppers from these. Oh, look at this one. This is a fish pepper. You can see its stripy stem, and then the pepper itself is also a little stripy. Been pulling a few of these, and you can see there's still just a ton of green and unripe fruits on the plants. But if we come around here, this cute one is starting to ripen fruits. And you can see now what I mean about when it starts to ripen, it'll look like a Christmas tree because it's got all its little baubles all sticking up and ready to go. Also, the Tabasco will look similar. You can see some of these down here starting to ripen. I'll collect these and then freeze them, and then once I have a bunch, I will make Tabasco sauce from them. I have what is a pretty old video now showing how I do that. So if you're interested, I can link it up here for you. But it's a simple fermentation, basically, of the peppers. I just also want to say how impressed I am that this patch has stayed looking as nice as it has. Early on, this Sugar Rush peach started looking diseased, and regularly treating it with the organic Rev seems to have really slowed the progression of this disease, not just in this one plant, but slowed it being passed on to anybody else around it. Like you can see, there's just a couple of leaves on this plant that got it, and just a couple in proximity. But all in all, these plants have fended off this disease pretty well. And I kind of think that that's due to the organic Rev kind of giving them an influx of good bacteria and fungi that kind of boosted the immunity of these plants. Organic Rev is the only product that I actually am affiliated with right now. It is not a fertilizer. It is just, like I said, an influx of good microbes that help your soil build and get the nutrients to your plants such that they can build a strong immune system. So you can always check in the description of my video. You can get 10% off with my link. And they also usually have free samples available, so you should check on their website for that as well. Alright, down here at the end of the fourth row, just a quick check-in on this blueberry that I put in. It is putting on good leaves, so I'm pretty happy with that. We have, oh look, another potato coming up, sweet potatoes, and some more brassicas. I think this is probably a cauliflower, and then we've got a couple more Brussels sprouts over here. Sweet potatoes will get pulled out soon-ish before the frost comes. I'm not super expecting a big harvest from this. I was mostly just hoping to use it as living mulch in this area. And it's only done an okay job at that. I probably could have planted it a lot more densely. I learned partway through the summer that also the leaves of sweet potatoes are edible. So I've been using it as a nice like summer green. I haven't tried it raw, but I have eaten it cooked, and it does kind of come out very similar to spinach. So next year I might kind of plan for more of that usage as well as the ground cover, because I don't actually need that many sweet potato roots. I don't eat very many of them. I do think that they are tasty, and I know they are healthy. Oh look, that's a ladybug. That's not one of those ones that's trying to look like a ladybug either. I think that's actually a ladybug. That's nice. So yeah, these sweet peppers here, they've been doing fairly well. They're definitely at that stage where they're so heavy they are falling over. And if I don't come out here fast enough, then they fall all the way over. I think part of it is that these cages aren't very deep in the ground. I wasn't able to find a spot where all the prongs were not hitting rocks, because my soil is very clay and rocky under here. Not to mention that the roots from this big tree here also make this section of garden just a little tougher to dig in. So I'm gonna have to take that into account for next year when I'm looking at where to put things that need cages and or deeper holes to actually put them in. We are on the other side of this now, and the cosmos are going absolutely crazy right now. They seem to really be enjoying this weather. Oh, look at that one with the deep pink. Oh, so pretty. But right below them, I've got this tray of strawberries that I transplanted from the one that I'm growing by the berry patch. And the intention is to give these away to people who want little strawberry starts. I think they're looking good enough now where I would feel good giving them away. They look like they've got fairly good root system under there, just because I think pretty much all the leaves you see right now are new leaves. So they seem like they're pretty solid. I also have been starting more onion seeds out here. These ones are looking slightly better than the ones that I started inside. So we'll see if just being outdoors and getting more sunlight actually helps them out. Lastly, over here we have more brassicas. I think these are mostly broccolis. And we've got some of my lettuce starts that I put in starting to take off. I put them all nestled in between here. I think, whatever was here. Oh yeah, that one's harder to see because it's not a green one. This one is getting munched though, it just has one leaf left. Oh, we'll see if that one stays. I have actually a bunch more starts right there, so I can probably replace that if it doesn't survive. But yeah, everything on this end is looking fairly good. Before we move on to the other stuff, I want to mention briefly that I've moved some of my lion's mane logs into the swale. The thinking here is that they were not getting enough moisture being under the trees over here like they were, and since the swale catches water, they would get soaked more. And I'm not sure if it's the moving them or if it's the time of year, but I have been actually harvesting lion's mane from these logs. Enough for like a small handful every few days for like stir fry or something. Definitely not like an absolutely crazy amount, but I really didn't think I was going to get all that much from these, especially because lion's mane is supposedly so hard to start with as far as growing your own mushrooms at home. I am pleased that I'm getting any harvest at all from these, especially because they look like they've been colonized with other things as well. And just as a short update on the rest of these, all of these are shiitake logs. They also look like they've been colonized by something else in the meantime, but these are going to probably fruit in the spring. We've got a few different kinds. There's wide range, warm, and wild shiitakes. And wide range, that refers to the range of temperatures it will fruit in. So the warm ones will fruit when the weather gets warmer again after the winter. Wide range will probably fruit in a wider range of temperatures than the warm. And the wild ones, I'm not entirely sure what to expect as far as when they will fruit, but I'm going to be looking for them kind of after the weather starts warming up after winter. You can see from the tags there that I started those in April, and the reason I haven't had a harvest from them yet is because even during the warm months they hadn't quite colonized well enough to just have that base to fruit from. So now that they've had more time, they're probably getting close to fully colonized now. When the weather becomes right, that's when they will fruit, which is why it's taking about a full year for these logs to fruit. All right, let's run through and look at the raised beds real quick. Everything holding steady. I don't think I've changed anything in here since last week. Haven't really had time to come out and pull stuff for drying since last week either. But everything's looking great. We've also got down here, the most exciting thing, in my opinion, is the carrots that are actually growing and doing really well, it seems. This variety is doing great. This variety is doing medium okay, and this one in the middle is really struggling. We'll see once they grow up what exactly each of them was, because I think each is a different color. I think there's an orange, a purple, and a red carrot in here. Oh, Kata, let's not. Let's not. Yeah, so we've got carrots. She ran away to be a menace somewhere else. And then lastly, if we come over here to the berry patch, you can see I've made good progress on the weeding in here. The plan is to extend this whole section out for those last 2 blueberry bushes that I have, though, that I thought were dead, but actually were just underwatered and are coming back. So I think now is the time to get them in the ground. It's just a matter of finding the time. I'm also starting to notice new leaves on my strawberries. They kind of slowed down for a while, and I am again seeing them start to put out new leaves and new shoots, and so I'm hoping that they will continue taking this over until the frost. I know a lot of this will die back, but strawberries are perennial in my area, so they will just come right back, even though they're going to look pretty dead in the next couple of months. Looking at the rest of the berry patch, I'd kind of thought that I was getting ready to prune it back, but upon further research, I think I'm going to wait till spring to prune these back, just because that'll make it easier for me to tell which of these are fluorocanes and which are primocanes. Because these are ever-bearing raspberries, some of these canes will come back in the spring and be the first ones to fruit, and some of them will be fully dead because they have already fruited twice. And that'll just be easier to see in the spring when some of them are coming back and some of them aren't. Also, when I do that, I am thinking about taking out this entire trellis and kind of replacing it with sets of 2 poles going down with wires strung between them. I think that might hold up this patch better than this. I kind of misunderstood the growth habit of these plants when I was putting in this trellis, so I'll probably move that somewhere else and just have poles and wires to make sort of like a little hallway for them to exist in. Still getting plenty of fresh raspberries though, every single day. It's been really, really nice. It's not necessarily just like a whole bunch for jam or anything like that, but it's definitely enough to give me a handful of berries to eat fresh, and that feels really nice. I almost ran into this guy. This one is a writing spider. Some people call them banana spiders because they're yellow. It's kind of missing the telltale squiggle in the middle of its web, but that is definitely a writing spider. They look pretty creepy because they're just so pointy. Jumping spiders, I think they're easier to find cute because they are kind of fluffy and hairy, and they're not pointy. They don't look like if they walked on you that they would like puncture your skin. But those I'm not afraid of. They don't look friendly, but I'm not afraid of them because they generally just stay on their web and they eat the stuff that I don't want around. And, we just all coexist that way. I am happy to see them here because it means that I am cultivating an environment that they want to live in, which I think is a good thing. Alrighty, I am going to let you guys go for now, but as always, thank you so much for watching. If you would like to watch these videos without ads, I do have a Patreon, and it is because of this Patreon that I do not have just a ton of sponsors on my videos. So if you can contribute to that, I really appreciate it. You can get ad-free videos. I have some custom stickers that you can get. And you can also join the Discord community where you can ask me questions and show me pictures of your garden and kind of see a few of the more unfiltered thoughts that I have throughout the week on the garden. Catch up on all the garden tours this year right here, and I will see you next week. Happy gardening!